Welcome to the Swirl World podcast, brought to you by the swirlworld.com. We're here to help you navigate the exciting world of interracial and intercultural relationships. Whether you've been involved in an interracial relationship for a long time, or you're new to the idea of swirling someone of another race or culture, this is the podcast for you. Here are your hosts, Michelle Matthews-Galloway and Adrian London Leach.
What would you say if I told you that I know someone who did a little research, quit their job, and moved to an entirely different state, Alaska no less, just out of a sense of adventure? Well, if you know interracial blogger and dating coach Lorraine Spencer, then you know who I'm speaking of. I had a chance to chat with her prior to a podcast we did, and she shared with me a very interesting story of decisions she made in her youth to travel, to see the world, and to take a chance on life. I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. If you've been toying with the idea of should I, shouldn't I think after you hear Lorraine's story, you just might be motivated to go ahead and give it a try. Here's what she said.
Well, I am actually just a homegirl from Indianapolis, and there go the yay Hoosier comment. Hoosier by birth, but Indianapolis couldn't keep me for long. I left Indianapolis at 19 years old, headed out to Denver, Colorado with a sister who lived there, and stayed there for about 4 years, and then I headed up to Alaska. I was single and free and had checked it out and decided to go. So that describes me perfectly as a pioneer, because I was always doing something different out of the box. Mm-hmm. My interest in swirling came about quite naturally because in our household, like so many people I have met, my parents didn't teach us to hate anybody. They were always accepting of other races, and that kind of boggled my mind, being from rural Alabama, growing up in segregated societies, how they still, although they had every reason to hate, did not. So they didn't teach us that. And so it just worked out that, not that I hate black men or anything, I love black men. My dad's a great one. But it just happened for me, swirling was kind of natural.
Gotcha. Now, before we get into your book, you mentioned that you went off to Alaska. Can you talk about that just a little bit? I know there's been a lot in the blogosphere about black women traveling for love or moving for love or to find love. Can you just touch on what was going through your mind and even what your recommendations would be pertaining to women moving around?
Okay, well, Alaska was quite by accident. I was working for a telecommunications company and looking into transferring to their headquarters in Kansas City. And so I went to a newsstand that sold papers from around the country and world, and looking for a Kansas City paper. And I guess I stumbled upon the Anchorage Times. And I saw a black lady on the cover, and I thought, So I bought it, took the paper back to work. Working for a telecommunications company, I could call long distance anytime. So I called this lady and told her who I was and how interested I thought she was in being the first black on the school board there in Anchorage. Mm-hmm. And her name was Betty Davis. She said, "Come on up." So I acted on that, and I guess within 3 months I was gone.
Wow. So did you transfer, or did you just decide to start a whole new life?
Well, I did not transfer because they had offices up there, but it was more sales, and I was in customer service and actually commercial collections. And so I just decided to quit and go to the university. And so that's how I started. I went to the University of Alaska, Anchorage, and stayed there for 3 years.
That's awesome. I think going to school or deciding to teach is a great segue for women to move into new states or even new countries. I mean, you have a purpose when you're going, but what's the old saying about killing two birds with one stone?
Yes.
It doesn't mean you have to be in a box. You're not necessarily restricted to just where you live. You can branch out and do other things while you're in that new location.
Absolutely. And I do encourage women to think outside of the box and just outside of their comfort zone for just a little bit to see what if, or the possibilities. And I also tell them, if you're going to go, it is safe and a good idea to have an exit strategy, because if things don't work out, the same plane that took you can bring you back, or it can take you on to the next chapter. So you don't lose anything by going someplace that you're never going to, where you don't know anybody. See, I had a pioneer in spirit, so that was easy for me. I have cousins and other people who I know. It's not so easy. They cannot even fathom leaving their city, let alone going somewhere to Alaska, where you're closer to Russia than you are the rest of the lower 48 states. So, and Europe, I still encourage it. Just go. You don't necessarily have to have a love interest to go. Go to just experience it. And if things don't work out, that doesn't mean you're a failure. It just didn't work out, and you move on. That's how I look at that.
And that's a great mindset to have. I hate that so many restrictions seemingly or try to be placed on black women, or all these thinking the worst instead of thinking the best. If something doesn't work, you just try something else. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
Right. Absolutely.
And on that note, the conversation shifted, and we went into the podcast to discuss Lorraine's new book, When Family Does You Wrong. Make sure to check our blog for that particular post so you can listen to Lorraine discuss something that happened in her own family. Till next time, keep swirling, and remember, life is better in the swirl world.
Thank you for joining the Swirl World broadcast, brought to you by the swirlworld.com. Please take a minute to visit our website and join our growing community by subscribing. You can also visit the Swirl World on Facebook. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, remember, life is better. In the Swirl World, keep swirling.
Endless passion for interracial love.
Find us on Facebook.
Facebook.com/The Swirl World.
The Swirl World. Swirling as it should be.